concept is silly, ridiculous, it's a waste of time. They didn't want that's why they were so successful. That's why they got away.
I'm surprised they didn't go bigger, but they're funny.
I made a living in it very dangerous.
This is really an integrated blue to all sides.
Dianne Andrews in black and white.
Welcome to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. And thank you for joining us today in our Issues Room. This is where we make it all happen. 6 years, 150 shows. And we appreciate the viewers, whether you're in the home and one of our 3 million viewers on television, or whether you're watching us on Rumble or YouTube, and you're not, please subscribe. We're also on CW 21 on Sunday afternoons. We're on Pelican Broadcasting in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Lafayette at 6:30 on Monday and Tuesdays. And it includes Mandeville. It's 1 million people there. CW is 1.7 million. But recently we got picked up by WLFT, Channel 30 here in Baton Rouge, and you can see us Monday through Friday. So we're on all over the place, and then you can do it at your time. You can even get the Louisiana Film Channel app. So come on and watch Dianne Andrews in Black and White. You know, 831 means something to the state of Louisiana. 16 years ago, in 15, we had the horrific Hurricane Katrina. 831, the same day, we had another Category 4 coming to Louisiana at 172 gale force winds. Just like Katrina. Maybe not as much rain, but more damage, and the worst hurricane that ever hit the state of Louisiana. Because it even flooded in New York City. Who would have thought that a hurricane would go up there, some remnants from that hurricane? So I thought about it and I said, what happens to the animals? What happens to the crops? And I wanted to do something to show what we had done here in Louisiana to help our essential workers. Because we know from the pandemic that the people who keep us fed are our essential workers, probably much more essential than a lot of the other workers, especially our government workers at times. But let's talk about with the person who's over the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry, and also medical marijuana is under that umbrella also. I never thought about so much was under that directorate until I started looking at what our commissioner does. And you're going to see a short film, 1.5 minutes, about what they do at the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry here in Louisiana toward the end of my opening reel here. But this man, he started his 4th term on January 20th of 20. And before that, though, he is a veterinarian. In 1983, he graduated from LSU School of Veterinarian School. Then he went on, he wasn't satisfied, or he loved that, but he wanted to do more. So he served 2 terms in our state legislature. He was the Legislature of the Year from St. Tammany Parish. He is from Covington, Louisiana. Then he went on and he wanted to do even more. So he became our commissioner. He has all kinds of distinguished awards from LSU, Legislature of the Year, Hall of Fame, Hall of everything for this man. And he can tell you which one that he appreciates the most, if there's any one you love more than the other. But he's also been president of 3 trade associations. One is the Southern United States Trade Association, which is 15 states, and they handle a lot of our international, which I hadn't thought about before. So we're going to show you this short 1.5 minute film on what the Department of Agriculture and Forestry are about, and then come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White and meet this man.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Mike Strain, your Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry Commissioner. Agriculture and forestry sectors are the backbone of Louisiana's economy and play a vital role in the lives of all Louisiana's citizens. That is why we strive to fulfill our mission to promote, protect, and advance agriculture, forestry, and soil and water resources of Louisiana through our programs and services. From making sure the seeds farmers plant are high quality, to promoting Louisiana agricultural products through our Certified Louisiana program, to preventing, controlling, and eliminating plant pests and diseases that threaten Louisiana's agriculture, environment, and economy, by ensuring our four-legged friends' food is safe and nutritious, and by testing scales, cash registers, scanners, and gasoline pumps to ensure you, the consumer, get what you're paying for. We assure the meat, seafood, poultry, eggs, fruits, and vegetables and the products are not only safe to eat, but are wholesome as well. We suppress wildfires on timberland, and we investigate livestock and timber theft. You can learn more about the department at www.ldaf.la.gov.
Thanks for coming back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White, as we are in our issues room now, where we talk about black and white. I always say between the two, there are shades of gray. But today I only have one guest. Thank you for being here with me.
Glad to be here, Miss Dianne. Thank you.
Thank you. I gave all your accolades. So tell me, what is your favorite or your most feel accomplished of all the distinctions you've
I would have to say, I was presented an award by the LSU School of Veterinary Medicine, right, as Illuminous of the Year.
Right.
And that was many years ago, and that plus the Hall of Distinction. So when you're recognized by your peers, especially when they have a plaque with your name on it hanging in the School of Veterinary Medicine, that's pretty awesome.
Pretty special.
It's very special, because as a young person, on the farm, the only thing I could ever dream about was being able, one, to go to LSU, then becoming a veterinarian.
So it's always been your dream to
always,
do that.
I never wanted to go anywhere else, and I didn't have any intention to go into politics.
Right.
So I spent more than 20 years in private practice, day to day, and I love private practice, but then, there's a calling.
Right.
And so you have to listen to what your heart says.
And and that's a great thing, but a lot of good people don't want to run for politics.
Well, there's a reason. It's
a
hard.
lot of reasons.
It's very hard. And so when I got out of veterinary school, I was asked to join the Veterinary Medical Association and sit on the legislative team. And then over a period of 10 years, I became the chairman of the legislative team for the Veterinary Medical Association. And I also was asked to sit on the national legislative team for the Farm Bureau. And so I would interact with legislators, and I had a cousin, Big Bill Strain, my second cousin, who was chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. And all veterinary bills would go to the House Agriculture Committee. And so I would come to Baton Rouge and lobby and work on behalf of the veterinarians and the Farm Bureau for the House Agriculture Committee. And then what happened is, in the year 1999, Bill Strain died in office.
Oh, he did.
He died, and I qualified. He died in July. I qualified in August for that seat.
Oh, right.
And if Bill, and he died at 58. And he would still be alive. I'd still be
heart attack or natural causes.
No, he was ill. A number of different things that he had.
Wow.
But he didn't think. He went in hospital, thinking he was going to come home in a few days. That's right. That's right. And we lost him. But I would still be in private practice, out there on the farm.
Right.
And so, but then I went into the state legislature, served 2 terms.
Right.
And there I served.
And you were working with the agricultural committee then,
I
and
served on the Ag
president of the
Committee.
Legislature caucus, weren't you?
I was chairman of the Rural Caucus as a freshman, yes.
Yeah.
And then after 2 terms, I decided it was either time to move up or to go back home.
And so you moved on up.
So I moved on up, ran statewide.
It's like the Jeffersons, moving on up.
Moving on up. And that was a very difficult decision at the time, because at the time, Commissioner Odom was there, and he'd been in office 28 years.
Yeah.
And he was a very powerful individual, and so I ran against Commissioner Odom.
He was a Democrat, I think,
He was a Democrat. I'm a Republican. That's right. That's right. I think I'm the first
I
Republican ever
Yeah.
to be Commissioner of Agriculture, and I'm the 7th commissioner in Louisiana history.
Well, you've been there this is your 4th term,
I'm in my
so
4th
you've been
term,
there
yes.
quite a while.
Yes.
And hopefully, is your goal to do something else?
I'm going to run again for re-election, and I've always maintained.
Have you had a candidate running against you at any of the other?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Generally 4 to 5 every time. But
Republicans
I've always.
also?
Yes, I've always won in the first primary.
Okay.
I've been elected 6 times. I've never been in a second primary race.
You never had to. You won it in the first.
No. Our philosophy is to get it done in the first primary.
And
Work really hard.
Talking about that, one reason that you are only having to do 1 primary is the job that you do. People remember what you do. When I look at Ida, but first let me thank Sabrina and
Yes.
Jennifer
Yes.
for talking to me and sending me the clip that was just
They
shown
do an
to you.
excellent job.
They do a great job. That's
They
what I
do.
wanted to tell you and,
They do.
and tell them, shout out to them for what they do. Because you've got to be a tough person to keep up with and try to get you
Well,
to
they don't
where
let
they're-
me keep my schedule.
Yeah, they-
Oh, no, I'll mess it up.
Yeah.
No,
But
absolutely.
to keep up with, to make
Yes.
sure that they can
Keep
get
chasing.
you there is my...
Keep chasing,
Yeah,
yes.
keep chasing you.
Yes, and
'Cause
Todd
you-
is my confidential assistant.
Yeah.
Right, so they all try to keep me on schedule.
Right.
Right.
It takes all three, I'm sure.
It does. It does.
But when I think about agriculture and forestry, I always think, okay, cows, some horses, some chickens, and then I think,
We're a
okay,
lot
and
more
some
than
trees.
cows and
I
plows,
know, and that's
right?
what we just showed in that
Yes.
clip. But when we lost 20% of the utilities, energy, 900,000 people on a 4.6
Yes.
million person
And
state.
our oil refineries went down.
That's right.
Fuel went down.
So tell me, how did you, and some of that was in the film, but how did you make sure we didn't lose more, more of the cattle, more of the eggs, more of the everything?
In emergencies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm part of the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have multiple emergency support functions, ESF. And so we have the main GOSEP, right, at the main bunker with the Governor's Office,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have our sub-EOC, Sub-Emergency
Mm-hmm.
Command. So I have multiple responsibilities. One, if you are evacuated, if your animal goes with you, we have to make sure that either one, you can put that animal on your lap, or if you cannot, then we take that animal, we transport it, we house it with you, and if you can't house it, we take care of that. So I'm responsible for pets. We did that after Katrina, legislatively, because many people refused to leave their homes because they couldn't leave their pets.
That's right.
And so it became a rescue mission versus an evacuation, but also many people died. And their pets died. So we changed the law. So if
Pets are family. A lot.
pets are
so
family.
Legislature
so
realizes
under
it.
the law, when that boat comes to that house, if there's room on that boat, the pet goes too.
Okay.
And when we move you, we move the pets. And so this time, we had a census on any given day, 150 to 175. During Gustav and Ike and some of those other storms, we had a census of up to 2,000 animals.
Wow.
And so each storm, we learn how to do it better.
Right.
So what we have, after Isaac, when we had the evacuations in Laplace, I said, there's got to be a better way. And so we have custom-made units, and they are mobile pet evacuation trailers that we got from the federal government. Gave us these trailers. They came out of the food service. And then at first, the Walter J. Ernst Veterinary Foundation ponied up between $80,000 and $100,000 to retrofit them. And the second trailer was done by Banfield. And we're being told that another group, the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, ASPCA, is going to donate
give
us
money-
a
I
third
donate to
one,
them.
a
Yeah,
third one
yeah.
for this purpose.
Wow.
And so we use those facilities.
How many animals, let's say,
Generally,
average dog,
generally
cat,
80 in one of those trailers. Now, we also have reefer units where we can just put transport cages if we're going to move them to Monroe, to Houghton, to Alexandria.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we co-locate. If you remember the big storms where we were here at the film studio, we co-located them in the facility, with their owners.
Right.
And of course, look, and when you do that, and at first the Red Cross said, no, you can't do that. And the governor said, yes, we're going to do that. But the people do better and the animals do better when they're there. You go in there and there's a cot, right?
Right.
There's a cot. There's a person laying on it, right? Right? And their animals laying up there with them, right?
That's right.
And everybody's happy. So in addition to, working with the cattle and also disease prevention and disease control, we're also responsible to make sure that the government and all emergency needs for fuel are met. And that is a very big part of what we do. We did over 50,000 fueling missions, in excess of between 2 and 2.25 million gallons of fuel. And at the time,
When? During Ida?
During Ida, absolutely.
50,000?
Missions, yes.
Oh my
that's
God. But
fueling missions.
Where did
Yes.
you get the fuel from, since we had the
we
refineries and things were down?
We have contracts, right, through an emergency fuel provider, and it's and it's bidded contracts, and then they have exclusive contracts with the refineries. However, the refineries, we couldn't get fuel from the racks, so we ended up, what we had to do was buy barges of fuel and have them brought up in the river, and then we would send our
From
trucks
another
to the port.
country?
Well, they were in the river. We found them, and we bought that fuel. So I bought 1.5 million gallons on barges, and
Wow.
I got to pay for that in 10 days, right?
Right.
And so we buy that, and then we source fuel from wherever we can get it plus I have fueling depots.
Now, does FEMA help you pay for this? You say you have to pay in 10 days. That comes
That's right.
from FEMA's.
No. I have to pay that vendor in 10 days and then get reimbursement
From FEMA.
eventually from FEMA.
Yeah, eventually,
Okay, no,
yeah.
eventually. So,
Yeah.
and so we don't have that cash in the agency. So what I have to do is what's called a seed. I have to get a seed from the Division Administration, working with the treasurer to pay for the fuel that I have to pay the vendor, and then we have to work to get reimbursed by FEMA. So it's a paper trail for for the finance people. For the account. But the bottom line is that our mission cannot fail, because if the generator goes down at the hospital, right, or the generator goes down at GOSEP, right, or we can't fuel firemen, police,
You got
state
another
police.
Katrina on your hands, like down
That's right.
in New Orleans.
And so we're responsible, and so we're not going to fail. But I also have fueling depots. Department of Ag and Forestry, we're a very large agency.
How many employees do you have?
So we have totally about 640.
Oh,
we had
okay.
1,000 when I started.
Yeah.
We're about 640, so we're pretty lean. But we have over 800
Lean and mean,
vehicles.
though, it sounds like
We
y'all
have-
get it done.
That's right. We have over 800 vehicles, and so and of course we have 97 Macs in the fleet, Mac trucks.
Yeah.
So I'm responsible for food but firefighting. I'm the state's largest firefighter, right?
Really?
So, yes. So
Because of forestry?
Yes. Other than a structure, right, we are responsible for all that, for firefighting. And we work closely hand in hand, again, with the fire marshals. That's part of what we do during these emergencies, again, working with the fire marshal. Any major fire, we're working hand in hand. And that's why we have a fleet of 12 aircraft. They're the eyes in the sky, looking for fires and also coordinating
What is your
the fire.
budget?
My
Commissioner?
overall budget, direct budget, $73 million, and a pass-through budget brings it up to about 83 to 85. When I
You're
was
doing
in
a
office,
lot with that amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing a lot.
Well, when my first year in office, the budget was 106, but the expenditures were 114. That's that's what I came into. So we've saved the taxpayers, more than $250 million in just
Your time,
salaries
yeah.
and interest payments alone.
Right.
So, so during that, we have to make sure we do not fail on those missions. And then in addition to that, logistical, getting food to the food banks. So we operate the food warehouses. That's part of food distribution. So food banks, schools, we work with many different agencies, including the prisons, for cold storage and food shipment. So the getting food and supplies. And the other thing, we work directly with the National Guard and any other state agency on logistics. So we have many functions during a storm, and so we have to set that sub EOC up and we roll, because the thing is, all of us working together, and the way it works, if there is a problem that has to be dealt with, someone at that table, in GOSEP, somebody working together, we work together till we solve the problem by whatever it takes. Just like, getting water to the cattle. I had to get pumps. We had to buy them in Texas because you couldn't buy, there were none. They just didn't exist. We tried everywhere.
Do you have like a task force set up just for disasters?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, the sub EOC, right? It's emergency operations. We have a task force. We have designated personnel that have designated duties that are highly trained.
So they know I'm getting on it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and almost all of our people are trained in the in the emergency operations, ISO certified and accredited, so incident command system. And we work by the incident command system. And so if you look at, we stood up for 25 days this time. We have been up as long as 30 and 45 days. And so they are very good at what they do. Then when it's over, we do what's called a hot wash. In other words, what worked, what didn't work, what can we do better, and then we, of course, we work with all our other partners, whether it's wildlife and fisheries. I'm working with wildlife and fisheries now, for instance, to get fuel to the ice houses and to the shrimp
now you do
boats.
the mud fish, but that's it.
Crawfish, I do crawfish,
that's
yes.
it. Yeah.
Well, anything that is onshore, not sport and raised in ponds is under me.
That's you.
But I work with wildlife and fisheries, and we're working right now with one main mission is to get fuel. We have fuel donated by British Petroleum, coming through my agency, delivered to those ice houses, and they're distributing ice. And so British Petroleum donated 200,000 gallons of fuel. That's besides the FEMA fuel. And you look at Chevron donated about 22,500 gallons to various agencies. So a lot of people step up to the plate and donate, and we coordinate all that. But the other thing that we are doing, we are applying for a USDA grant that was announced a week ago that will help our seafood processors. And so I'll be working with Secretary Monasay. He and I are close friends, served together, and so to get those grants there. And so the other things that we have done in the past is through our Agricultural Finance Authority, the Ag Bank, is to administer grants and loans and programs, federal monies to farmers and to fishermen. So when you look at our agency, it's a very large agency. And so I'm a constitutional officer of the state. So I'm the Commissioner of Agriculture, I'm the Commissioner of Forestry, I'm the Commissioner of the Office of Metrology.
What is that?
Weights, measures, and standards.
I never
The
even
oldest
heard of it
laws
before,
in
yeah.
antiquity.
Yeah.
So if you notice when you go to a gas pump, there's a sticker on there with my name on it. If you go into the grocery store
Yeah.
with the scanner, there's a sticker on it, right?
Yeah.
If you look at any scale, there's a sticker on it, right?
Yeah.
So if you go and buy a quart of oil, you're going to get a quart, and it's going to be oil that meets specific specifications. A gallon of gasoline, a pound of shrimp, a sack of oysters, whatever it is. So the Office of Metrology is huge. Weights, measures, and standards. So I'm the Commissioner of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And by that, we regulate, all of the grain elevators, all the commodities being sold, almost anything in commerce, and then Commissioner of Agriculture and Environmental Services.
Services. Okay.
So all the chemicals in the ground and in the air, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, right? Anything when you spray for mosquitoes, any chemical is
Now, let me
regulated
ask you
by
about
that.
that spraying for mosquitoes. Sometimes I'm out in my yard and they're
Yes,
spraying.
that's right.
How
right
bad
about
is
dusk.
that chemical for your lungs when you ingest it?
Well, go inside, but it's very safe. It's very small amounts. So the bottom line is they spray when they have to.
Yeah.
If they didn't spray, you wouldn't be able to live there because of the mosquitoes. We normally keep mosquitoes at 1% of less of what they would be. And we're always working to make sure that we minimize the amount of virus that they have by keeping mosquito control. And so that is done in the mosquito testing. That and the spraying is done by your local mosquito control districts. Now, in a storm, after a storm, if it gets beyond their capacity, then we call in the United States Air Force. We in the government, right? And you got to pay them now.
Yeah.
It's like $4 million when you call them in. But they will bring in 2 C-130s, and they will spray a massive amount of area to knock those mosquitoes
Have you
back
ever
down.
had to do that?
Twice.
Really?
Twice, yes. Yes, ma'am, twice. We did that after Ike, and again, we did that most recently after the storms that hit Lake Charles.
Well, people don't know about the mosquitoes. I did a
It's
show on that.
huge.
But they're the deadliest animal in the world, the smallest, and the deadliest because of malaria.
More people have died from mosquito-borne illnesses in the
That's right.
city of Orleans and the surrounding
Even Orleans.
areas
I always think of
than
Africa.
all other major American cities combined
Because so many. Because
over the
there's
years.
so many. Yeah.
But the exciting news today, now I know we're a little off script, the exciting news
Malaria
today
vaccine.
is GlaxoSmithKline
Yeah.
has released a vaccine that
Right,
is
I
now
saw that.
being adopted by the World Health Organization to vaccinate children in Africa against malaria.
That's right, I
now,
saw that.
35% effectiveness, which is a big leap forward. However,
Better than zero.
there's another one in phase 3 clinical trial
Mm-hmm.
that's 75% effective. In the Wall Street Journal, and it was published yesterday,
Uh-huh.
that the climate change causing a defrosting of the permafrost is damaging Russia's oil supply, cracking buildings and pipelines. And so when you start looking
Is
at
it going to hurt the Nord Stream 2 that Joe Biden let them and stopped our Keystone?
well, I think what we have to understand
Mm-hmm.
is that we have to look at every avenue and look at all energy forms, all of that, right?
Yeah.
We have
I believe in electric, but you just can't cancel what we're using.
well,
coal.
electric's good.
Yeah.
Electric's good, but
But we still need
Well,
fossil
wait.
fuels, don't you think? Or what do you think?
When the storm hit, what did we have to get down to those parishes, right?
Yes. That's
Gas,
Right. Yes.
diesel,
Right.
water, fuel, tarpaulins, right?
Yes.
You think about that. And so there's a place
Hold
for
on,
everything.
The co-host
Oh,
is here
the
with
co-host.
me.
Come on.
You want your chair?
Absolutely.
You want your chair?
Of
Okay,
course.
Come on, sweetie pie.
Okay.
There you go with your chair.
Yeah, see, that's the fact checker, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to embrace all modalities of energy,
Yeah.
all of that,
Right.
and work together. And there's some exciting things. If
Mm-hmm.
you look at, we keep talking about climate change, and that's a wonderful thing, and what we're going to do about carbon, CO2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you look at our industrial base, our industries here
But
can
weren't our
put,
CO2 emissions down under the previous administration, lower than?
well,
than
they
were before?
are, but the new science, innovation, and agriculture, it's great, because we're going to be having cover crops and we're going to look, you know,
What's a cover crop?
where
Doctor?
when you plant cotton, after you harvest, you plant another crop, and that crop will put nitrogen in the ground, pull it out of the air, as well as sequester carbon.
This is so interesting. What's
You know,
going on in farmland? No,
and
when I saw Bill
the
Gates had
nation's-
invested in it, I knew it was a great
The nation's
profitability.
forest, the timber industry, sequesters 20% of all the carbon produced by the United States now. But if you look at what oil and gas and industry, you know, here our industrial plants, they can put 20 to 40 times the amount of carbon we produce underground. If you saw what the Saudis said they were going to start doing, they're going to take CO2 that's coming from their plants and use that to get the oil out the ground. So they're going to use CO2 as a way to pressure oil out of the ground and inject it subsurface. We're looking at everything we can do to decrease carbon. They're also developing new engines that will scrub the CO2 out of the emissions, and all the different ways we can use that. So all that is ongoing, and we're very excited.
Saudis are they don't want everything to go electric because that's their bread and butter, right?
But that's also, you know, Exxon, Chevron, Shell, Phillips, all of those are doing the same things. But here, you know, in agriculture, I mean, we're the largest natural sequesters of CO2, nitrogen, phosphorus, all these things, right? Science, innovation, technology. And because, again, that's all working together. And so what do plants need to grow? CO2.
Water.
Phosphorus, water, nitrogen, all these things. So there's a lot of exciting science coming out.
It really is. This is very interesting. I'm going to ask you one more question. Even though Bill Gates is investing in farmlands and the largest owner around this country, he also invested $50 million into Impossible Foods, which makes the Impossible Burger. And one comment he made is that rich countries can afford synthetic beef, but poor countries are going to have cows. But places like America, he said, that he implied, and he did say that the rich countries can afford it like America, synthetic, because I guess it costs more to make synthetic than it does.
It does cost more. I think what he needs to do, you know, is go down to the grocery store when Mom and Pop America are going down there to buy groceries, right?
Yeah.
And as you know, there's been the inflationary pressures on food has been over 6%.
And gas.
It's been high, and gasoline. Yeah, gasoline is up substantially, right?
Yeah.
But the bottom line that there's a balance of everything, right? And if you look at, you know, poultry, the most affordable protein in the world, right? Poultry. If you look at what the things that we are doing, and again, there's got to be a continual balance as well. You know, he's entitled to his opinion, right? Even if it's wrong.
But he put his money in there, doctor.
That's right.
Yeah.
But we're gonna, we're gonna be in the cattle business.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna raise poultry. You know, we're gonna raise swine. We're gonna raise fish.
But you know, the progressives are saying the cows cost too many farts and it's hurting the climate, which doesn't make
there's
any
also
sense.
been exciting research come out that shows they have developed new feed additives. It's on a trial study right now in Canada that reduces methane emissions by 45%. You can also go back and read National Geographic, and it says that herbivores built the earth, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you think about what a herbivore does. What does a cow do? It takes something we can't eat. It takes grass that we can't eat and turns it into something that we can eat.
Right.
And we have to be very cognizant of that as well, and of those protein sources available across the world.
Was there anything else that you'd like to leave? I think we've gone over your time and
well, I just want to thank you for allowing us to come and visit.
Thank
you know,
you.
the
It's been
Department of Ag
wonderful.
and Forestry, we are the largest regulatory agency in the state. We do many things. Check us out. Go to our Facebook at ldaf.la.gov, ldaf.la.gov. Look at all the many things that we do. If there's anything we can do to help you, please let us know.
I think, hey, nice talking to you.
Thank
He's
you.
going to have me on the podcast, you all. I'm holding him hostage.